now let's graph that. Okay, now guys, everybody's grid here might look a little different. I don't care if you used whole numbers and did like -11, -10, -12. You see what I'm saying? And then you put this at -1.1, so just right there past -1.1 and went that way. That's okay. I have no problem with that. If you are a person though that chose to do -11.1, -11, and -11.2, I'm also okay with that. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So I don't care which way you do it, just as long as I can figure out what you're doing. Okay? So then you should have a closed circle, right? Because it's equal. So closed circle, and you should have headed this direction. Okay, again, make sure you fill in everything, including the arrow. Okay, does anybody have a question on that? We did okay? Yes?
Actually, when you show, could you put the arrow?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Then let me see it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Anybody else? Okay, backside. All right, so now we're going back to things that we've seen in chapter 1, we've seen in chapter 2, we're seeing it again in chapter 5. It should tell you something. You need to know how to do these, okay? So it says define a variable, write an inequality, and solve. 3 is more than a number is less than twice the number. How do you define a variable on a problem like this? A number, yep. So n, we'll say n equals a number. Okay, now let's just start off with the first part here, okay? So it says 3 more than a number.
So 3 plus n.
Good, 3 plus n. 3 plus n, 3 more than a number, okay?
Isn't it after the...
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Okay.
Now, is less than, okay? Do you guys see that is right there?
Yes.
Okay? That is telling you that this is where the inequality sign needs to go. Because there are going to be times like the word more than that you would be thinking that could also be an inequality symbol, okay? But you are kind of keying in where is that is, and that is still telling you where the inequality symbol will go. It doesn't necessarily mean equal in this case, but it is telling you here's where a symbol should go, okay? So less than. So is less than, looks like the L. Remember, it looks like the L, less than, okay? And then twice the number, what would we put there? 2n, very good. Okay, so I just broke down the words. All right, so now, Kevin, what are we going to do next to solve this?
Subtraction.
Good, so subtract the n off. So the n's cancel. So I have 3 is less than, you can either put 1 in or just n. Okay? So now, in this case, does it ask us to graph?
No.
No. So this answer is acceptable since we're not graphing, but if you go ahead and write it the other way, just out of habit, I'm okay with that too. I would accept either one there. But if it asks you to graph, you need to get that variable out front first. Okay? All right, does anybody have a question on that? Okay, last problem here before we fill in the table. Define a variable, write an inequality, and solve. Write your solution using a complete sentence. Okay? Sarah has $65 to spend at the mall. She bought a t-shirt for $18 and a belt for $14. If she wants a pair of jeans, how much can she spend? So how do we figure this out? Okay, first off, backtrack. Define a variable for me. What are we looking for? Nope, not a number this time. How much you can spend on jeans. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to put J for jeans. And cost of jeans. Something that just tells me, or price of jeans, just something that tells me we're looking for how much jeans are. Or what we can spend on jeans, really. Okay? Alright, so now with that being said, how do we figure this out? We got $65, we've already bought a couple of things. How do you figure this up?
Add the 18 and 14
Add them up and then do what?
and subtract it from 65.
Okay, so she's saying let's just put the 18, 14 together, figure out what that is, and then subtract it off 65, and that'll tell us how much money we have left. Okay, I'm going to write it just a touch different. All right, instead of writing that as addition, I'm just going to put one big subtraction problem. So I'm going to say we have $65, and we bought something for $18 and something for $14. Are you guys all okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, now the kicker here is, so J is going to be on the other side. We have to figure out an equality symbol. Okay, you can't put equals in here. So what I always tell people is don't necessarily try to memorize. I'm going to give you a table here in a little bit with all the words just to make sure you get everything down. But you don't necessarily have to memorize that if you can just think logically about it. So if we're thinking about 65 is how much money we have. Can I spend more than $65? No. Okay, so that means this is my bigger guy. Does that make sense? So this is the largest amount of money I can spend. So you're going to remember from the summer, alligator eats the bigger number. Okay, so remember the summer I actually did this and I was like, we put little alligator teeth on there. Okay, so alligator is eating the bigger number. Whatever side that's on, I don't care. Okay, locate your biggest number or biggest side and that's the alligator's going to eat. Okay, now the next question you're going to ask yourself, could you equal $65?
Yeah.
So could I spend exactly 65?
Yeah.
Yes, I could. Okay, so I'm going to put an equal sign on there because it can be exactly the same. Okay, so what is 65 minus 18 minus 14? 33. So I've got 33 greater than or equal to J. So now, we always are going to be writing our sentence here. What would be a good sentence? James, what do you think?
She can spend no more than $33.
She can spend no more than $33 on jeans. Okay, I love this right here. That is awesome. Okay, he is telling us if you just say she can spend $33 on jeans, you're not telling us that she can spend up to that amount. Because if you're saying 33 and you're saying she needs to spend exactly 33, but we know that's not the case. Hopefully we can find some jeans on sale for like $25 or something. I don't know, whatever. Okay. So if she gets something that's a little cheaper, she can still afford to pay for it. So no more than, or you could say up to 33. Does that make sense? So your wording on these sentences, you need to include that we can spend up to that amount, but not necessarily exactly that amount. Okay, we have the option to go less. Okay? All right. Okay, first symbol right here. What is the symbol? Less than. Okay. All right, does anybody know another word for this other than less than? It's okay. Okay, fewer than. Okay, those are the only two words that mean less than. All right, so what about the next column here? Go ahead and write this down, please.
Greater than.
Okay, more than, and how about greater than? So greater than, and I agree with more than. Okay, those are going to be only two words there. Okay, all right, the third column, what's that symbol going to look like? What is it? Okay, less than or equal to. Okay, anybody got any other ideas here?
Fewer than or equal to.
Not quite, that's a good try. But no, fewer than or equal to is not a real one. Anybody else got something to try? Okay, at most. And no more than. Okay, so at most and no more than. Okay. All right, so this last one here, greater than or equal to. Okay, if I'm doing opposite of at most, what do you think we're going to put there? At least. At least. And then if I'm doing the opposite of no more than, what do you think that was? No less than. There we go. Okay. All right. So here are our table of words. So if I ask you to refer, if you don't know your words, I ask you to refer back. This is where our table's going to be, is in our 5-1 notes. Okay, we'll use this the whole chapter. However, if you think about it like common sense, like we talked about the first one, you don't have to memorize those words all the time. Okay? All right. That finishes up our notes for today.